Clerks 3 is going to be coming out pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
And defended this man, this Kevin Smith, for a long time, and maybe the movie will be fun. He insists that it's a tearjerker. That's what he says most of the time when he makes a movie. His stoned ass will cry during it, I have no doubt. But Jeff Anderson's back, and that's exciting. So I like the trailer. I thought whoever cut the trailer did a really nice job. I'm probably not going to go to the Providence screening. It's just too hard to get in and out with children and all. But I may go to one of those Fathom event screenings. I realized I have gone to the theaters for every Kevin Smith release since Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I've not missed one.
Ah.
But yeah, there's been. I mean, everybody knows that he's been declining for a really long time. But like I'm an outlier. I like Tusk. I think Yoga Hosers is like unwatchable, and we've been through this. but I'll admit that, like, even Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which is a pretty watchable movie, and it has a lot of good things about it. There's something like decreasingly human about his films. I don't know what it is. Like, he makes, I would say, like around Clerks 2 is when it started, where the characters sound like the Carnival Barker cartoon fake version of him. And so do the women, and so do like the old people. Like, everybody for some reason sounds idiotic.
Yeah, it feels like hyper, crazy and a little unrealistic.
Yeah, like there's just kind of like, I mean, not to say the dialogue in the original Clerks wasn't stylistic, but
yeah,
there was a humanity underpinning it. And all of a sudden now it feels like a weird, like, I hate to call it being stoned, but it just feels like everybody's stoned, I guess. And so they released 2 1-minute clips of this thing. One is Randall is in the hospital, and Amy Sedaris as his doctor, like, tells him he's having a heart attack. That's scene 1. And scene 2 is they're in the quick stop talking to the kid from Clerks 2. And they're like coming up with what the movie, he's going to make Clerks, and they're coming up with the movie idea. And you've seen it too. I don't know what the hell happened, but these scenes are not conducted well. Now, putting the acting and dialogue aside, which we already know is stilted, there's like this 2 shot of Randall, of like Dante standing, and Randall is sitting down in like the hospital bed. And, there's like all this blank space over on the top left, and there's a lot of middle vacant space, and it's handheld for no reason. And you could have just blocked it in such a way that made it so like it was a kind of a.
Yeah. The rule of thirds is totally disregarded. It's a mess of a frame.
And in the opposite, it's not just a fluke. In the opposite shot, you're missing everybody's eye lines.
Yeah.
Like, you're not really seeing people's performances, and
it's a bit chaos.
It's like they just kind of threw the camera wherever made sense. And again, just trying to predict the responses here. I recognize that Kevin Smith has never been, a beacon of cinematography. Although the guy who shot Clerks now shoots those Star Wars shows. He shot Boba Fett and stuff, and he did not come back for Clerks 3, but he shot Clerks 2. I think Clerks 2 is a nice looking movie.
Yeah, it looks like a film.
Yeah, yeah, right. But just something's up. Like, the scene is conducted, I think you said, like in kind of like a subpar SNL kind of way. It just feels like not to mention, like, in that scene, the doctor is like dressed up like a witch for like a Halloween party, and it's not yet clear why. I mean, maybe that's meant to be funny, whatever. But she's like, "Oh, what's your pain level?" And he says, "Very low." And she says, "Well, you're doing it wrong. You're having a heart attack." And he's like, "I'm having a what?" And they kind of go back and forth. And they do these, yeah. And Dante's
humana.
What? Yeah, they're doing the humana. I'm having a heart attack. When this, I've heard Kevin tell the story 1,000 times about his heart attack.
Way more authentic than this.
It's so, well, yeah, because he sets himself up as the dope that doesn't realize he's having a heart attack, and the doctor is the straight man who's like, calm and cool and but instead he's like, no, let's make her a funny Amy Sedaris witch, with Baby Yoda. It's just like, I don't know, it's like a weird misunderstanding of how the scene should be conducted.
Yes.
And And is it just me, or does like lots of things feel that way nowadays? Like,
everything. Well, that's like all of She-Hulk.
yeah, and worse, I would actually say.
I would say worse. I would, if it has almost a similar vibe, but worse.
Yeah, like She-Hulk really feels like college students are writing it. Like they did it, like Marvel did like an internship program. They're like, let's have a bunch of great students write this. Yeah. I don't have a lot of nice things to say about She-Hulk. It feels very slapped the fuck together. And it just gets to the point where I'm like, maybe it's a test. Maybe it's a litmus test. Maybe it's just like, what will you take? Because we can't spend trillions on every show. So like, this is going to be like our low. Would you accept this as the low? It feels like that.
Yeah. It like, you could do a court drama comedy, but it feels like they didn't even commit to that.
Right.
Where, they started off with like the Marvel like backstory thing, and then the second episode was kind of wishy-washy, and then the third episode, it's more in that direction. But even that it feels like half-assed, and the best part about it is Tim Roth, but even that's like sort of weird.
Yeah, I'm not connecting with. Yeah, and you saw the third episode. Like, what was that subplot with the chauvinist guy? Like, what was all that?
Yeah, and I think you can do a good like chauvinist dope character, like a Barney really Stinson type, and make him funny and relatable. But you just make him like the, what do you call it? Just like a commercial where you have like a dopey dad. That's the level they're going at.
Yeah, like really low. Yeah,
really low. Like it's like brain dead.
Jokes that are right here. Like, sure, this will do.
Again, like a college student making a script in a week. Making that for their assignment, anything that like it feels like an assignment, like you have no passion to this and you have to like develop dialogue for this specific thing.
Yeah, and you like end up like as a result of that, like you need to fill it out with content, so you sort of like inject just, I don't know, like your personal opinions about the world, but it doesn't really like relate to the story you're telling, because there really is no story that you're telling. So you're just kind of like, oh, like I don't know. The whole thing feels like kind of like an incoherent meme.
Yes. And the main character, the Jen, she feels like, I don't think she has enough to do, because I know the actor's good. She was in Orphan Black, but I just don't feel like she's nailing, like her material's not good enough that she can even nail anything.
There was a scene in episode 2 where they made like a fourth wall reference to the Edward Norton Hulk, and she was like, you're not still mad at Abomination, are you, or something? And he goes, no, that was totally like a long time ago.
I was looking forward to this.
I was a totally different person back then. Literally. And then it cuts to her and she goes, haha. And I'm going like, if he had just said I was a different person back then and left it at that, I think that would have been maximally funny, because it's just it's a perfectly coherent statement and sentiment, and we're in on it. Adding the word literally, if you must, it holds together because he was almost literally a different person at that time. And then the ha like, is it just because you feel obligated to do this fourth wall thing because you promised you would do this fourth wall thing?
Yeah, it's kind of a comic book thing, but they don't even like really, like, it doesn't really feel like they're committing that much to it, and it doesn't ever work.
Somebody was like, well, what do you think? Should they do it more? Should they do it less? Like, what percentage of the time? And I was like, I don't know. I just want to feel like it was done for a reason. Yeah. I want to feel like, oh yeah, outside of people leaping to tell me, like, in the comics it was done that way, so it must be done this way. Beep boop, beep boop. No.
In my college's assignment, they said that I must include this.
I have 5 obstructions. 1. Fourth wall. 2. We're going to give you one CG model that looks good. It's called the Smart Hulk. All the other CG will be bad.
With the horrible walk cycles.
Yeah, frame skipping walk cycles of a giant woman leaving a room. Looking like one of those, those like viral videos of like CG models like flopping all over the city. Yeah. You go, girl. God, it looks terrible. And I think probably part of the reason it looks so bad is because maybe compositing around that hair is just, I don't know, maybe always difficult.
Yeah, but the gravity is wrong with it too. Like she's like she's got like moon shoes. She's slipping across.
It's so bad. And then I think they know it because like by the time they had her twerking in the third one, it was like they just had this horrible CG model twerking. I think at that point they're like, let's just make that thing twerk. We don't have a character here, so.
Yeah, the whole Megan Thee Stallion or whatever.
Right.
Just it feels too memey. It doesn't like work and stilted. Like none of the delivery is right either.
Yeah.
Even if the script was funny, no, it doesn't feel right.
It feels like they had a team of college students forcing the joke on you. Come on, she's gonna twerk. But I had one thought occur to me when I was talking about Clerks 3, which was some people were wondering, is Clerks 3 going to be in black and white? You know that Clerks 2 was in color, obviously, until they got to the convenience store at the end, and then it faded to black and white, which sort of means that there's a motif that when you're in the convenience store, when you're working in the convenience store, things are black and white for some reason. So you could get creative with it. And I remember hearing he said, like, no, Clerks 3 will be in color except for the segments where they're filming the movie, and then that will be black and white. And I thought, well, that's cute, except not that this matters too much, but if you're shooting on, they're clearly going to shoot on digital because they're living in the modern world, and it wouldn't, I don't, you'll have to then like go out of your way to explain why Randall is shooting this in black and white. And and the reasoning won't be cheapness of film. So it's going to be some other dumb reason, I guarantee you. So wouldn't it have been kind of cool if they had flipped it, where actually everything in the movie was shot black and white until they're shooting their movie, and then shooting the movies in color? And so the motif being like that this movie kind of unlocks possibility and like expands the world. The movie expands the world that otherwise is a bit drab, Yeah. Wouldn't that have been kind of cool?
It would be.
Maybe a little too heady. I don't know, but
probably not appropriate for Kevin Smith.
Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith, New York City. What are you doing? Come out and see me. Wow.
Carnival Barker.
Hey!
There's another thing where in the clips that they released where they have a 2-shot at 2 different angles, and they're both 2 shots from and they cut between them very fast.
Yeah,
and it seems like some of them are the same take. So it's very strange. Like there's an algorithm that like switches between the two shots. Very similar 2 shots.
Like a Zoom call.
Yeah.
It's like speaker view.
Yeah, the speaker view, but it's the same people in the same shot.
You're not supposed to cut medium to a medium.
Yeah.
And can you get away with it? Yeah, depending on the composition. And if you cut cleanly enough, I guess you could. The question is, if you got 2 cameras and you got 2 setups, why wouldn't you look for new opportunities with your different setups? It's like, again, I recognize that Clerks, it might be inappropriate to have like clean singles of a person in a Clerks movie because it tends to be these 2 shots. But for that reason, just stick with the 2 mediums and flip back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's strange. Again, I remember he used to fancy himself somebody who was kind of rigid about like, if I wrote it a certain way, we're going to shoot it that way. Like he kind of had like a well-laid plan. Like Chasing Amy was like very rehearsed, for instance. And consequently one of his better movies. And sometime around, I don't know, I guess probably when he worked with Seth Rogen on Zack and Miri, he started like being extremely open to improvisation, like prohibitively open to improvisation. I remember listening to the Guardians of the Galaxy James Gunn commentary, and he was like, he warned against it. He was like, filmmakers make this mistake. You live with the material for like a year, 2 years sometimes. You get bored of your own stuff, but you worked hard on it. It's the way it is for a reason. But then you get to set and very talented actors start improvising and start like breathing new life into it. And it's really exciting for you because you're like, wow, I didn't know it could be that. And like you get kind of like too attached to the new thing just because it's novel now. And like, that's not a good reason to, to abandon your plan, basically. I'm not saying don't be flexible when shooting, but I am saying like, you're supposed to go in with a plan.
Yeah. So I don't know what all that stuff was about. It does feel a little chaotic, a little half-assed.
Mike Tyson had the saying, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. You're supposed to go in with a plan and then be flexible to change it. But the plan is the core concept of what you're trying to achieve. But I'll definitely check it out. And I'll bet you one way, even if it's like largely incompetent, it'll probably still have a charm to it.
Yeah, like, I'm sure.
I like Jeff Anderson. I like Jay Muse. There's lots of reason to believe that it'll be a fun time.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.